Hello everybody, how you doing? Clinton Bonner, Vice President of Marketing at TopCoder. Thank you for joining us today for another edition of TopCoder webinar series. Today's topic is a really cool one. It is using open innovation and crowdsourcing to create new mobile user experiences. I think you're going to really enjoy this, and I'd like to point out too at the offset here that all the really cool graphics and icons you're looking at, these were all developed through competitions that we ran very recently, this week in fact, on the TopCoder platform, specifically to have created for this webinar. So enjoy. So when we're looking at UIUX, I put up this kind of funny image of James Carville, who famously said it's the economy stupid, right, before the '92 Bill Clinton run and victory. And just kind of juxtapose that with maybe a 2013 version for mobile saying it's the UI/UX stupid, right? Because it really is. When you think about the user interface and the user experience, this is where all value creation stems from. This is where it's all born from. And as we look a little bit at the current mobile landscape, there's really two different divides here, right? On the left side of the column, you've got commoditized, and then on the right side of the column, you've got innovative. So for commoditized mobile applications, you're typically talking about porting a website that already exists or porting some information that already exists onto a mobile device and really not doing much with it, just getting it mobile and making sure that it's in the hands of someone who wants it for mobile purposes. Now that can be valuable. That's just the sheer fact that it's on the mobile can create value. But inherently, it's certainly not changing a user experience. It's not creating a new experience, and most often it's lacking any sort of mobile specificity, meaning it's not using any of the cool buttons and whistles that mobile now has, which we'll talk about on the right-hand side here. But on the flip side, the innovative side of UI/UX and creating innovative mobile applications, really the focus there is on creating a new user experience. You have members, you have citizens, you have end users, and they want to use mobile devices to do something that helps them make their life easier or accomplish a task faster or do something brand spanking new that they never really thought of doing before but now can because of a mobile device. And that leads into utilizing device specificity. Mobile devices are more and more chock full of goodies, right? So they already have, most of them have two cameras facing either side. Most every single one is certainly smartphones are geolocation capable, meaning they can sync you anywhere in the world, tell you where you are. But even beyond that, there's an adoption of a sensor rush into the mobile that is becoming quite sophisticated, and we really haven't seen anything yet. Think about the fact that there's competitions right now from X Prize to develop a mobile tricorder from the famous Star Trek series, right? That's all going to be sensor driven through a mobile device, right? So the onslaught of sensors into the mobile phone, and then the fact that creates ever more platforms to create new interfaces on is really where all the innovation and that's where the value is going to take place. So when you're looking at the mobile landscape, you kind of have to choose what side of the fence do I want to be on. And if you're going to be looking at the innovative side, then we're going to suggest to you that looking at crowdsourcing and open innovation is an exceptional way to make things happen there to create great mobile UI and UX. So we'll dive into that real quickly, and this is a very simple analogy, right? So why crowdsourcing and open innovation for user interface and user experience innovation? And really what it boils down to is this simple graphic here. You want to see more mountains before you choose the one you're actually going to go climb, right? When you're talking about open innovation and crowdsourcing, the heart of that is competitions. You're hosting what are open competitions to get back multiple solutions, sometimes, let's say 5 solutions, sometimes maybe a dozen, sometimes it could be hundreds or even thousands of different solutions that say, hey, this is what I think you should be doing, this is the way I think you should go do it. When you're focused on UI/UX, you really want to get a large swath of different ideas on how you would approach that user experience, because a lot of times internally you're just not going to be looking at some of these solutions that will come from a crowd or a community, and again, that's where a lot of value creation really can happen. Transferring over to how we do it at TopCoder, when you're wanting to see all those different mountains, well, at TopCoder we break down, let's say, a mobile application project into the smaller pieces that make up the entire build. We call that process Atomization. You can see from this really cool spoke graphic right here, that from one platform you could run a multitude of different types of contests. We talk about this on almost every single webinar. The purpose is that so you could access hyper specialists from within our global community that's nearing 500,000 people who are exceptional at some of the tasks that go into, in this case, creating a mobile application and creating, even more specifically, a great UI/UX for a mobile application. So I want to take you guys through a couple of steps that would traditionally be within a mobile application build. Now, some of these are going to be directly impacted or impacting to a UI/UX, and some are kind of on the outskirts, but they're definitely good for you to see, and we'll go over these very, very quickly. So the first thing is a conceptualization contest. So on the TopCoder platform, you can choose to run this type of contest, and the outputs are a high-level business requirement document where the users, I should say the community members, are interfacing with you, the client, and asking scores of questions as to, who are those end users, what challenges are you really looking to solve, and what they're going to deliver back to you is a very robust, fleshed-out plan to say, these are all the elements you're going to need to succeed here, and here are the paths in which you can have that success, right? So everything from, it might be something like a voice recognition, to how you're going to test that, to where it's going to go grab the data from, things of that nature, right? So it's the output is a high-level business requirement document, but the step of conceptualization and opening that up and having the ability to forum with people who are going to compete for you is in it of itself a great exercise. And then to allow these people to go to their neutral corners and bring back solutions for you to say, here's how I conceptualized you're going to get to this great mobile application experience. It's a great first step. And again, because you're going to get back, let's say, 8 or 10 or 6 different looks right off the bat, 6 different concepts right off the bat, you can start to see different mountains kind of starting to peak up before you. So you can start to say, I like that path. This path is, it doesn't really interest me. And then go, whoa, that's a really interesting path. I didn't even think about that, but wow, is that interesting? Let me bring this down the development life cycle a bit further and see more. So doing exactly that. Another piece of the puzzle that would typically happen after conceptualization are wireframes. For anybody who doesn't understand what a wireframe is, kind of think of it as like a skeleton of an application, right? It could be a website, it could be a mobile app, but the wireframe itself is the skeleton of it. So, and it's clickable, right? So you could actually go in, and if it's on an iPad or on a Samsung tablet or whatever, you could literally go in and click around. Now, it's not going to be visual, meaning there's no design elements besides the skeletal framing itself, but you get to click and see user paths. Again, when you get back, let's say 6 or 7 or 9 or 4 different wireframes in front of you, and you could start clicking on different paths, you go, whoa, that's a really cool way to get me to that information. That's a great way to access that data. That's an amazing way to share my photo. Whatever it is that business goal we're talking about, they're trying to accomplish, you're starting to get to see it when the wireframes, because you could click through the different user paths. So, think about what's missing, right? Well, what's missing on top of that would be the actual design, right? Design elements and what we would call storyboards. Storyboards in TopCoder are flat graphical representations that would basically, these are not going to be clickable, these are not going to be in prototype format, but they're going to start to take what was your concept document and start to look at maybe some of the wireframing of how things should be placed, right? Where the big elements, the larger elements should be, and then developing what are the core concepts for the visualization of your experience. Obviously, us as human beings, what we see and what we touch off a mobile phone have a resounding impact on experience. So storyboards and them being so critical to getting the exact design you want is a really crucial step to really fleshing out that user experience. So you start to think about these things, right? You've got a great concept on what you're going to do differently and how you're going to impact an end user's life in some way through a new user experience. You start to see wireframes so you can click through these different things. Now you're seeing visualizations that would eventually be put into it. So this is the output of what an assembly would look like. So this is your best in breed assets, your best wireframes, your final storyboard, your final design elements, obviously your business conceptualization, and then it all brought forward. This would also include your front and back end architectures and things of that nature, and it all brought forward through another competition. It could end up on iOS or on Android or Win Mobile. That doesn't really matter, but just the idea that again it's a competition to take your best in breed assets and then put them together and make them real, which is really cool. One part that we skipped just now that a lot of clients, of course, do is after they have their design elements done, their storyboards, and after they have their wireframes, they'll run those kind of mashed up into a prototype competition to then get back a series of prototypes. So again, going back to the idea of seeing more mountains, if you're in a prototyping phase before you take it to assembly, maybe you're seeing 7 different prototypes, maybe you're seeing 5 different prototypes. But the neat part is, again, you're getting these different interactive experiences before you've actually chosen which one you're going to bring forward to assembly. And if you're doing that all the way down the chain, a lot of value is being created, and you ultimately, we think most often, you're really highlighting in on what the successes are, and overall you're choosing which mountain's the right mountain to climb. So again, after prototyping would typically be assembly, where again all the assets are put together and the live application is actually born. And then through competitions too, we do bug hunts. So bug hunts are a really unique way to use the power of power of the TopCoder community. Some would call it a crowd. We call our members part of our community. But thinking about unleashing all these what are brilliant nitpickers, if you will, who will go into the code and find flaws and find them fast, and then submit them to be verified. Typically, people will put up a bug hunt. It might last 5 or 7 days, and you'll say, okay, for $50 a unit or $100 a unit, go ahead, find the flaw, submit the flaw. If we verify that you're correct, boom, you get paid, right? But instead of just having 1 or 2 people looking at this, you could have dozens of people, or sometimes even more, going at this code for you and really, again, being highly critical in a very good way, being a real professional nitpicker, if you will, and finding all the flaws for you. That has not too much to do with UIUX, except for the fact that nobody likes a buggy application, because that'll ruin an experience faster than anything else. So just flipping over to how you can prepare for UIUX success, right? So we looked before, we said, okay, we got one side is commoditized, one side is innovative. Okay, you decide you want to be on the innovative side. Okay, good choice. We say you chose wisely. Then we suggest you use Open Innovation and Crowdsourcing to innovate on that side of mobile UI/UX. Okay, let's say you buy in and say, yeah, I do want to do that. Great, we'd say you made another smart choice. So now looking at how you prepare for success to really nail UI/UX through Open Innovation, let's look at a few elements that will help you get there. The first thing is, you really need to concentrate on the business goal. And I know that might sound superficial, I know that might sound a little, not just simple and simplistic, but a lot of times people will come in and they'll come in with incredibly technical detail, but sort of fuzzy what they actually want the end user to experience detail. Or maybe they just don't know what the end user should experience, but they don't even really understand the goal coming in. I would say flip that completely. Look at your business, and more importantly, look at your end users, whether they're members, whether they're citizens, whether they're just some super niche users, and do the research that you need to do to understand that what will impact their world, what will make their life a little bit easier, allow them to do something with your brand faster, give them some level of enjoyment that they can't get anywhere else, whatever it might be. Find that out, and then that is the goal of the UX. That's the goal of the application, and the UX can be born from that to get you to that goal, right? So focus on that part. And then at this point at the juncture, leave the technical details behind, because the technical details will come through competitions, and they'll also come from the community, who will provide you with the technical expertise to execute on your vision. So the second part of this is to learn to let go and allow creativity to flourish. Now, this is a lot harder than it seems. If you're used to working in a traditional environment, even if you're using outsourcing teams or just small shops internally, or small divisions internally, it's harder to let go than you might think. And it also depends on who you put in charge of an open innovation product, who will have more or less success in the act of letting go. So the biggest thing I would say here is, prepare yourself to be surprised. Like, allow yourself to be surprised. Don't come in with a bunch of prejudices and come into a competition with a really narrow focus on, this is the only thing I'm going to accept as a type of winning solution. You've got to come in with a broader lens. Understand your goals can be extraordinarily focused, but let the community help you define how that goal is achieved by creating things for you. Let go of that piece of it, and you'll be quite happy. So then the third part is really, really crucial. This is mastering the mashup and the iterative phases of what happened in an Open Innovation and Crowdsourcing Contest, right? We talked before about seeing many more mountains before you, but what if you could take a little from mountain A and a little side of mountain B and the coloring from mountain C, and you love the baseline of mountain D, and mash them up to get to what is your perfect mountain, right? That is very, very different even than seeing 8 mountains and having to choose a complete mountain. When you're using crowdsourcing competitions and open innovation competitions on TopCoder, all those front-end competitions we were describing earlier, your wireframes, your storyboards, your concepts, they can have checkpoints built in. A checkpoint is very, very simply kind of like a 20-second timeout in basketball where you could stop the game and look at what's happening in those, at a certain point in time, and look at, let's say you get 12 submissions, and you could choose 5 checkpoint winners at that halfway point who are really going off into a right path, or they're doing something exceptional and they just need some guidance to get the rest of it to that exceptional level. But it's your role to go in as the client and give that critical feedback and understand that the more you give to the community, the more very specific feedback at this phase you can give, the better in return your assets will be, the better the outputs will be, because they will take your critiques and they will professionally absorb them and then give you back things that you really, really want. And even through that phase, even when that phase is done, you still get the chance to mash things up. And that is what I was describing earlier, where let's say, at the end of a competition, you have 2 winners and you pick a third winner, and you pick a third winner specifically because they have an unbelievable icon design. You really want to use that design. And even though winner number 1 kind of got the UX correct, and you love the way, you love a certain flow they put to it, and that's clearly the winner overall, but you as the controller of this contest can pay, number 3 in this case for their unique icon design, own that IP, and then instruct the person who came in first place to say, listen, I'd like you to implement that specific aspect because, no offense, you won the competition, congratulations, you have a beautiful user interface, but there's something about that icon that's just, I love it, I need to have it. That's your active participation in mashing up what are best-in-breed solutions, not just through every competition, but also intra-competition, right? So it's highly iterative, it's highly, pardon the phrase, mash-upable, but that's your role. And when you can master those things, again, little from column A, a little from column C, a little dash from B, and all of a sudden you're putting together a mountain that might be just unachievable from any other means, but because you're using crowdsourcing and because you have the ability to mash up and iterate with these crowds, you can create something really, really exceptional. So let's go over quickly a couple of examples of UI UX innovation on TopCoder. So I'm showing you this kind of plain looking chart here, but there's a real specific reason for it. This chart is all the different competitions that are still ongoing right now for a particular application for NASA. So NASA's building an iPad application that will be in use in the International Space Station or on the International Space Station to help astronauts track their food intake. So FIT stands for Food Intake Tracker. And when you're up there, there's a lot of issues, right? The microgravity environments and which means the sensors on the iPad don't know which way is up or down. There's a lot of a noise on the ISS that it kind of it would be like hearing a 30-mile-per-hour wind at all times, but that's just the consistency of volume up there. So there's these different challenges, and of course it's just tough to type in zero gravity, and it makes it very difficult. So what we do is we take the goal, right? We sit down with NASA. The community sits down with NASA in forums. They highly define the goal through conceptualizations, and they highly define the goal of what NASA's trying to do. And then we flesh out these different types of very, very specific competitions that will get best-in-breed solutions to these very specific challenges. And I pointed to a few hours there, like the object face recognition, and then there's one for just for voice command. When you can hone in on those types of things and get brilliant solutions along the way, you end up with a really, most often a really great user interface. and experience. So just showing the next slide here, this is just what the competition actually looks like from inside TopCoder Studio. TopCoder Studio is just our design wing of the TopCoder community. And I would encourage anybody, go in, create an account, and you can go look at all these different types of competitions. So Otis Elevator, they're a 160-year-old company this year. I think they installed their first elevator sometime back, I think in the early 1850s on Broadway in New York, right? If you've stepped inside an elevator, you've probably ridden an Otis elevator. So what does a 160-year-old elevator company do to innovate on mobile? Well, you know what? It's exactly what you would do to innovate on mobile. You concentrate on your niche end users. You focus on what would transform their habit, what would transform their life, make their life easier. In this case, they share the proper level of their domain expertise with our community, with the TopCoder community, and then you allow the community to breed assets for you. You step out of the way. So the net result of this is this was just released, the Otis eService Mobile, and I'll show you a couple of the screenshots here. But the idea behind this is great. Anybody who's who owns properties that have Otis lifts in their building. Pretty soon they're rolling this out, I think statewide and then across the globe. You now have a new mobile application to do all your servicing, right? So when you want to report services, you want to go check on a scheduled maintenance, whatever it might be, it's now all at your fingertips. So what it is a really innovative way to give those end users, who are, in this case, these are like building managers and people who manage large skyscrapers, people who manage malls, anything that really needs an Otis elevator, but give them a new way to, and an easier way, frankly, to do the things they would normally have to do on the web, or to pick up a phone and log a phone call, or maybe put a JIRA ticket into a system for a complaint, or a scheduled maintenance pickup, whatever it might be. Just a simple, beautiful interface. So you have to understand this, and I'll reference Jay Baer. Jay Baer, if you don't know who he is, he's a fantastic blogger and author. He's the purveyor of convinceandconvert.com. And he's the author of a brand new book called Utility, Y-O-Utility, where he talks about your brand needing to be exceptionally useful to its members, citizens, and end users, right? Where you don't have to be amazing. We don't have to be moonshot amazing. We don't have to be looking to cure cancer every time out here. But for your group of super niche users, you have to be extraordinarily useful. In the digital world, to me, that means UI/UX has got to be nailed. You got to nail that UI/UX. You got to do it like nobody's done it before, and that is where real value and real use is created. And these are some really cool examples of that in action on the TopCoder platform. So really quickly, just going back to this final slide again, you've got to decide which side of the coin do you want to land on. The commoditized side of mobile, where there's not a lot of value creation, or the innovative side of mobile, where there's still tremendous upside. And when I say mobile, I mean, we're starting to bleed into Google Glass and wearable technologies. That's mobile. It's not a mobile phone, but when I say mobile, I mean tablet, mobile phones, and now wearable devices. That's not going to slow down. And what the infusion of more and more sensors into these devices, these platforms are only going to get larger and larger, meaning you could do more things on them. You could deliver new and unique experiences on them. So if you're going to, I would hope you would make the choice to say, we're going to live on that innovative side. We're not even going to really bother with that commoditized side. We're going to sit there and we're going to focus and spend the money, spend the time, and do things right on the innovative side. That's kind of checkpoint one. If you make that decision, then I would encourage you to look at Open Innovation and Crowdsourcing to really get the UI/UX done right. Because, again, back to that simple metaphor, why climb one or two mountains and take that down the dev life cycle when you can see 8 or 9 mountains before you? And then furthermore, why even do that when you could start to say, well, I love part of mountain A and part of mountain B and the apex of mountain C and the base of mountain D, and you can mash them up and create what is a, pardon the French here, like a super mountain that you helped create, but where all the assets were created from competitions. It's a really unique way to look at mobile, and I think there's a lot of room for many companies to do great things within it. Very grateful to be able to share a couple with you today. Thank you so much for the time, of course, and if you ever want to go on to topcoder.com, plenty of information there. We encourage you to subscribe to the blog. That's just topcoder/blog, topcoder.com/blog, and of course we're on Twitter, just @topcoder, so you can say a quick hello. But thank you for taking time out. Hope this was enjoyable and useful to you. And again, if you're looking to build some really creative mobile applications, give us a shout. Be happy to talk. Thanks a lot.